2022 NFL draft class is going to go down as one of the worst draft classes for quarterbacks, and it may have produced the worst quarterback draft class of all time. Only one quarterback went in the first round. Now let's rewind a bit before we get into the players. This was viewed as one of the weakest, if not one of the worst quarterback drafts heading into it. When you look at quarterbacks like Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, and Matt Corral, they didn't have the best numbers coming out of college. But it's a reason why Kenny Pickett went in the first round. And that's who we're going to start with. Kenny Pickett is a quarterback from Pitt, played right next door to the Steelers. So it's a match made in heaven. Not quite. See, the Steelers need to go out there and find a brand new quarterback. Big Ben had just retired. In the last 3 years of Big Ben's career, well, they weren't the best. They went out, they signed Mitch Trubisky, and they had Mason Rudolph on their roster as well. Many years ago, decades ago, they let Dan Marino slip through their fingers, so they went with this kid. And Kenny Pickett had the numbers to back it up. 4,319 passing yards, 42 passing touchdowns to 7 interceptions. And I was wrong about this pick. I thought that Kenny Pickett could come in and find immediate success. He wasn't your typical NFL rookie. He spent 5 years in college. He got an extra year because of the pandemic year, so he was an older player. Kenny Pickett ran a pro-style offense at Pitt. Unfortunately, he did not translate that over to the NFL. He would end his rookie season with 7 passing touchdowns to 9 interceptions, and he would get his first start against the New York Jets. Well, halftime against the New York Jets, he was 10-13 for 0 passing touchdowns to 3 interceptions. He only produced one 300-yard passing game in his entire career in the first 2 seasons with the Steelers. And that game came against the Buffalo Bills, to where the Steelers did not score an offensive touchdown in that game, and he had 54 passing attempts on the day. It was pretty apparent that Kenny Pickett could not play in the NFL, but they gave this kid another shot in his sophomore season. They gave him first team reps. They let him do everything possible to get an advantage on the other quarterbacks on the roster. Kenny Pickett's second year would come off to a very slow start. The Steelers would be up and down. Kenny Pickett had a lot of good moments, but had a lot of bad moments as well. I still have PTSD from when Matt Canada was calling plays, one of the worst offensive coordinators in NFL history. Maybe the worst offensive coordinators in Steelers history. But he did not have that much of a negative impact on Kenny Pickett, the player. See, Kenny Pickett, the player, suffered those injuries. That wasn't on coaching. Kenny Pickett held onto the football for too long, and he had good weapons around him, like George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, and Najee Harris. And he went to a very good situation. Most quarterbacks that get selected in the first round, they don't get these type of opportunities. He went to an elite football team with the talent that they had on the offensive end. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out with Kenny Pickett. He was suffered that ankle injury against the Arizona Cardinals. Mason Rudolph would come in and he would throw more passing touchdowns than Kenny Pickett in those 3 games. And it was funny to see. Kenny Pickett would sit out for the rest of those 3 games, and also with the Steelers going into the playoffs as well, as he was quote unquote dealing with that ankle injury. But a lot of reports came out that he was cleared, and if he really wanted to go on the field, he could have. The Steelers would lose against the Buffalo Bills, and Mike Tomlin would come out and say this: there's competition in the room. Regardless of how Kenny Pickett feels about it, we're going to bring in some competition because that's best for the franchise and that'll be best for Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett wasn't feeling that. As soon as the Steelers signed Russell Wilson, he felt some type of way. He went out, he requested a trade. They traded him to the Philadelphia Eagles. Kenny Pickett will go down as one of the worst quarterbacks that the Steelers have drafted in the first round in a very long time. I give this draft grade an F-. But Kenny Pickett would not be the only quarterback that will be selected in this draft class, of course, because in the 3rd round, the Atlanta Falcons would take a huge swing on Desmond Ridder, quarterback from Cincinnati. And man, Desmond Ridder, when he was coming out, there was some hype there. He was a very good quarterback coming from Cincinnati. He had 30 passing touchdowns to just 8 interceptions in his last season with Cincinnati, and they made the college football playoffs as well. And he would get to start his rookie season, but it would be the last 4 games of the regular season. See, for context, just like with the Steelers, they just moved out their veteran quarterback. Instead of Matt Ryan retiring at that time, they traded him to the Indianapolis Colts. He was no longer the same, but they signed Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota is also a quarterback that was taken in the first round a couple of years ago. But he was not the quarterback that they were looking for the next 4 to 5 years. They took a swing on Desmond Ridder, and the belief was this: if we give him 1 to 2 years and let him develop underneath Marcus Mariota, he could be our franchise quarterback. And there was a lot to love with Desmond Ridder. He could run around, make the right play, and he was a coach's kid. Basically what a coach's kid is, watches film a lot, makes smart decisions on the field. But his last season with Cincinnati, he got away with a lot of BS plays, to put it lightly. He comes over to the NFL. His first 4 starts, pretty impressive. 2 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions for 734 passing yards. We're off to the races. He would get the start in his sophomore season, and well, to put it lightly, he played terrible. 12 passing touchdowns to 12 interceptions, and the passing yards did not add up either. He only threw for 2,836 passing yards, and he had solid weapons in Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, and he had Tyler Algier as well. This is a quarterback that just could not read NFL defenses, and the decision-making really hurt him on the back end. Just like Kenny Pickett, he would get traded to the Arizona Cardinals, to where now he is the backup for the Cardinals, and they traded him for Rondale Moore. The Atlanta Falcons now have Michael Penix Jr. and Kirk Cousins as their quarterbacks on their roster. Same with a guy in Taylor Heinicke. Malik Willis would also be a quarterback that would be selected in the 3rd round. At this point in time, this is when you start to really take quarterbacks in this draft. No quarterbacks were selected in the 2nd round. Malik Willis, quarterback from Liberty. This is one of the most hyped up quarterbacks in recent memory. He had over 870 rushing yards in his last season with Liberty, and he had 20 passing touchdowns as well. He looked solid. This is a kid that was raw as hell. He could not go out there and read defenses, but he was an athlete playing the quarterback position. If he spent another year at college, it really would have helped him out. The thing was this, he just transferred from Auburn. He could have spent one more year in college, but he felt like right now would be his time to come out. Amazing athlete, can make the moves in space, can run left to right, can escape the pocket. The thing is this, when you're playing at the collegiate level, you're not really going against NFL defenses every single week. You're not going against Alabama and Georgia every week. You're going against some weaker competition. And that was shown. Malik Willis should have never been selected in the 3rd round, and he went to the worst situation possible with the Tennessee Titans. They already had Ryan Tannehill, but they're just taking a swing on the guy that could possibly come in the next 2 to 3 years. Malik Willis was not ready. He had a game against the Kansas City Chiefs, and he only had 5 completions on the day. Malik Willis was a fan favorite because of the ability to run around and make crazy plays. But in that Kansas City Chiefs game, he did not look good at all. And I know what a lot of people will say, well, that's against the Kansas City Chiefs. That's the team that went out there and won the Super Bowl. But he was 5 of 16 for only 80 passing yards. That was it. And his rushing decisions weren't the best. He will hold on to the football for too long because he's trying to make the big play. And that is something that hurt him in college as well. He will hold on to the ball, and he had an amazing deep ball. That was it. The intermediate routes, he was not great at, and his short accuracy was terrible as well. He's just an athlete playing the quarterback position. He is now the backup quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, to where he's backing up Will Levis. Is it a chance that he could be a starter in the NFL? It's a possibility, but he's came in a couple of times throughout the NFL on cleanup duty. He's yet to throw a passing touchdown in the NFL with over 800 snaps. 0 passing touchdowns to 3 interceptions. It's not a good look for Malik Willis right now either. Matt Corral was also selected in the 3rd round by the Carolina Panthers. He's not going to get that much airtime. Had a very solid career at Ole Miss, and the Carolina Panthers thought that they were hitting on something here. Unfortunately, he would miss all his rookie season dealing with a foot injury. And the next year, the Carolina Panthers would select Bryce Young with the 1st overall pick. There was no need to keep him on the roster, so they let him go. He went to the Patriots roster. He was a backup. Then he was on the practice squad. One day, they were looking for him in the facility. He didn't show up. And he didn't show up for a couple of days. The Patriots went on, and they let him go. He is now a quarterback in the UFL for the Birmingham Stallions. Pretty sad story to really think about. It's really interesting because this is a guy that never got a shot in the NFL. There could have been some potential there. But looking at the other quarterbacks in this draft class, he may have suffered the same fate as a guy like Kenny Pickett or a guy like Desmond Ridder or Malik Willis. It would have been very interesting to see him actually get a shot in the NFL, though, in my opinion. Skylar Thompson is also another quarterback that was taken in the 7th round from Kansas State. He would get selected by the Miami Dolphins. One of the best situations to go into if you are a rookie because you know you're not going to play. Well, he wasn't thinking he was going to play, and neither were the Miami Dolphins. But Tua Tagovailoa dealt with a lot of injuries and came down to concussions and a back injury as well. He would play in 7 games for the Miami Dolphins, 1 passing touchdown to 3 interceptions. And when you look at his college numbers, I'm surprised this kid got drafted in the first place. He only had 12 passing touchdowns to 4 interceptions in his last season in college, and he threw for 2,113 passing yards. That was it. He did have a postseason appearance against the Buffalo Bills, and the less said about that game, the better. He was 18 of 45 in that game, 1 passing touchdown to 2 interceptions. He is currently still a quarterback in the NFL, and he's a backup quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. So, hey, he's still getting an NFL check. I'm not mad at him. The Steelers would not only select Kenny Pickett in the first round, in the 7th round, they would select a quarterback by the name of Chris Oladokun. Very interesting here. He got the preseason snaps, but that was it. The Steelers went on to cut him because you had Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, and Mason Rudolph. There was no need to have him on the roster. You're not going to keep 4 quarterbacks around, so they cut him. He lucked into the best situation because he's a 2-time Super Bowl champion. He got signed by the Kansas City Chiefs, and they have won 2 Super Bowls since. Has he had a major impact on the field? Hell no, because they have Patrick Mahomes. But the man does have 2 Super Bowl rings, and he is currently still on the Chiefs practice squad making good money. I'm not mad at him. Congratulations. Sam Howell. This is the part of the video where I really get pissed off. Sam Howell's a quarterback that was selected out of UNC. His junior year was better than his last year at UNC, but a lot of the NFL talent left. But there was a lot of upside with this kid. The best arm in the class, could throw like no one else in this draft class. Just phenomenal talent inside the pocket and could read defenses. So why did he slide all the way down to the 5th round? Why were guys like Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, and Desmond Ridder taking above him? Turnover issues and turnover-worthy plays. It did hurt him in college, but it wasn't his fault in his last season. This is a kid that did not play behind the best offensive line at UNC, and that would be a precursor to his NFL career. But the Washington Commanders are taking a huge chance on this kid in the 5th round. You could possibly hear him a franchise quarterback. He will only play 1 game his rookie season. It will be the last game of the regular season against the Dallas Cowboys. Oddly enough, they will go out and defeat the Dallas Cowboys in good fashion. He had 1 passing touchdown to 1 interception for 169 passing yards, and he looked damn good doing it. So he got the start in his sophomore season. We're off to the races, right? Well, not quite. The first 3 weeks, he looked solid. Then they went to the Buffalo Bills house. Nothing was the same. They could not run the football, and a lot of things would show up as weaknesses for Sam Howell in that game. See, Sam Howell dealt with issues in college and in high school as well. He would hold on to the football for too long, but you would get some major plays out of it. You pair him up with Eric Bieniemy, it's a match made in hell. See, Eric Bieniemy was the former offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, and so many analysts around the world were saying, hey, give this man a head coaching spot. He has to go somewhere else to be a head coach. So he was highly thought of by analysts and insiders. Well, he went to the Washington Commanders, and they threw the football more than anyone else in the NFL. The problem was this. Sam Howell would be the most sacked quarterback and most pressured quarterback in the NFL in his sophomore season. He would lead the league in complete turnovers. Don't get me wrong. Not every turnover was his fault, but majority of them were. He had 21 passing touchdowns to 21 interceptions. And Sam Howell did not look good coming towards the end of the season. But who would get beat up that much? He was on pace to being the most sacked quarterback of all time in the season. Yes, because he held on to the football for too long, but they couldn't run the football because of the system by Eric Bieniemy. Sam Howell will later on get traded to the Seattle Seahawks, to where he is now a backup behind Geno Smith, and he could possibly be a star in the future. We will see, but he still has one of the highest upsides in this draft class. Bailey Zappi would be selected by the Patriots in the 4th round. This is one of those situations. It's another guy I feel bad for. See, this is a kid, went to his rookie season, thought everything was sweet. He's getting to play with the Patriots, Bill Belichick. He's backing up Mac Jones. That's the life. Mac Jones goes down with an ankle injury. Brian Hoyer was also out. He had to start against the Green Bay Packers. He only threw for 99 passing yards, but he looked solid doing it. And then he would go on next week to face the Cleveland Browns, 309 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. The thing was this with Bailey Zappi. Never got a fair chance. Now, I'm not saying that he would be a star in the NFL because his arm power is not there. He has a below average arm in terms of pushing the ball down the field, but he has solid accuracy. He has had some good moments in the past with the Patriots. He's still on the roster. He's their 3rd string quarterback, but he's definitely carved out a career over the next couple of years if he wants to stick with this thing. The reason why I say he got a raw deal, Matt Patricia was calling plays. Matt Patricia is a former defensive coordinator for the Patriots. He's never called offensive plays. Bill Belichick basically sabotaged this kid and Mac Jones, but he did look better than Mac Jones. On the back half of his sophomore season, this kid got the start. He got the reins for the Patriots, and he didn't look the best, but he didn't look terrible. He was 127 for 212 passes for 1,272 passing yards with 6 passing touchdowns to 9 interceptions. And he had 83 rushing yards as well and 1 rushing touchdown. I will say this about Bailey Zappi. I'm not saying that he's a franchise quarterback and he ever will be, because I do not believe that he ever will be. But he could be a solid backup in the NFL, and he can handle the reps in the preseason as well. And he could possibly teach some young NFL players as well. Smart quarterback, but he just doesn't have the physical intangibles to get you to that next level. And the last quarterback would be the star of the show, Mr. Brock Purdy. Mr. Irrelevant? Well, Mr. Irrelevant became the most relevant quarterback of this draft class and the best quarterback of this draft class. See, Brock Purdy coming out of Iowa State was not seen as a star. It's the reason why he was the last pick in the NFL draft. And the San Francisco 49ers just thought they just had a practice squad quarterback. That wouldn't be the case. See, faith has a weird way of working itself out. If it's meant to be, it'll be. And it was meant to be for Brock Purdy. Entering his rookie season, he was buried on the depth chart behind 2 quarterbacks, Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. Trey Lance would be the starter for the team. First game against Chicago Bears, he did not look good. In week 2 against the Seattle Seahawks, he would break his ankle in brutal fashion. Step in Jimmy Garoppolo. And the 49ers, they looked solid. They're making a legitimate playoff run. Then Jimmy Garoppolo goes down against the Miami Dolphins. He breaks his foot. So now everyone is looking at Brock Purdy. They went out there and they ran a plain vanilla system. But Kyle Shanahan realized something in the second half of his first start in the NFL. They let him take deep shots down the field. He will finish his rookie season. They will win the rest of the regular season. He will undefeated in his rookie season. 13 passing touchdowns and 4 interceptions for 1,374 passing yards. He would take this team all the way to the NFC Championship before tearing the UCL in his elbow. And the kid has so many guts, unlike Kenny Pickett, he kept trying to pressure on and get on the field. But unfortunately, it wasn't the case. And at that time, the emergency quarterback rule was not in effect. So Christian McCaffrey had to go out there and try to throw passes for the 49ers. They would lose against the Philadelphia Eagles. But Brock Purdy saved Kyle Shanahan's job and John Lynch as well. Now, you may be saying, hey, you're just saying stuff at this point. I'm actually not. They traded heaven and earth to go get Trey Lance, and it didn't work out. And Jimmy Garoppolo was not their guy. Those are 2 quarterbacks that they missed on, but they hit on this kid. And he came in, he changed their franchise. Within 2 years, he's had an NFC Championship appearance. And guess what he did in his second season, getting the full start? He had 31 passing touchdowns to 11 interceptions for 4,280 passing yards. And he would lead them to the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, they would lose against the Kansas City Chiefs. But how many last picks in the NFL draft could go out there and take their team to a Super Bowl? And I know the first thing people are going to say, he's a system quarterback. He went to a loaded team. 2 things could be true. Brock Purdy can be a very good quarterback, and the San Francisco 49ers can be a loaded team. But Kyle Shanahan has never seen this much success so fast with a quarterback like Brock Purdy before. He had Jimmy Garoppolo. He never saw it. He's had quarterbacks in the past. They're pretty good, but this kid is special. And it shows something about this NFL draft process as a whole. You never know who's going to be a star. And it matters what team and what coach gets you and how much they really believe in you. The Steelers, they believed in Kenny Pickett. They gave him ample opportunity to go out there and prove himself. But he quit on the team and they shipped him off. Same with Malik Willis. It's the reason why he's still on the roster, because he's a nice kid and he's a great guy. As a quarterback, isn't the best, but it's the reason why he's still around and he works hard. Desmond Ridder, a lot of people say he was a nice guy inside the circles. Just wasn't good enough for the Falcons. They're looking for a franchise quarterback. Skylar Thompson, basically a coach's pet. Mike McDaniel loves him, and he's a guy that knows the system. And if you give him a couple of years, he could be a solid second and third string quarterback in the NFL. Chris Oladokun, he's holding things down to Chiefs practice squad. Continue to collect those checks and continue to get those Super Bowl rings as well. It's not a bad gig. As far as Sam Howell and Bailey Zappi, I think Sam Howell could be a starter in the NFL. That's just my opinion. As far as Bailey Zappi, we'll see what happens in the future, but he could be a career backup. It's never a bad thing making millions sitting on the bench and holding down that clipboard and coming in when your name is called. As far as Brock Purdy, Super Bowl quarterback. May have not won it, but he went to the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship your rookie season. It's pretty damn good, especially for being Mr. Irrelevant. Sometimes Mr. Irrelevant can be the most relevant person in the NFL draft. But let me know in the comment section below how you guys feel about this draft class, and is it the worst draft class for quarterbacks of all time? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching my video, guys. God bless. Peace.